think about it like this. If you're busy watching this now, if you've joined us this morning, you're probably not in stage 6 power cuts at the moment, at least not for the next few hours. Well, Eskom executives coming out telling the nation the increased level was unavoidable as the power utility had to replenish reserves. The CEO, Andre de Ruyter, says this was because the systems had been under pressure the entire week. It's all starting to sound like a broken record, though, isn't it? Vally Padayachee, Eskom's former executive manager and a former Joburg City Power executive, joining us this morning. Vally, good to have you on eNCA. It's a miracle that I'm able to get somebody up on Zoom, considering all the power outages at the moment as well. We can't keep on telling the country we must have patience. Surely patience has run out by now. How are you feeling? How annoyed are you?
Good morning, Garrett. Good morning to your viewers, and I'm glad to be back here, albeit the particular circumstance. I must say to you that I'm currently on a 4.5-hour load shedding slot, so I want to put that up front. Yes, I think it's going to be very difficult for a person like myself to defend any longer the current load shedding status. We are, as you probably know, in the worst load shedding schedule ever since we first had load shedding in the country in 2008. And given that and the impact on all walks of life, I personally am very, very concerned, actually quite frustrated. And although there are many reasons for this load shedding and why we got there, we can get there if we have time. But I think
I'd actually like to go there now if we could, Vally. I think that's what a lot of people would just like to know. I know that many South Africans realize there isn't really much that can be done, but at least let's get an understanding. Can you tell me how you think we got here, as someone who used to be in the position that you were in? How did we get here to the stage 6 again?
Yeah, actually, it's mind-boggling because Eskom was, at the time when some of us were there, was one of the top 5 utilities in the world. We could fly the flag high. But in this last 15 years, to have come down to a status where we are at the moment, it's concerning. And some of the reasons, which is common knowledge, maybe the details are not that clear. I think Eskom knows the reasons for the load shedding and the status where we are at the moment. But the core reason, in my opinion, is the people aspect. I think in a business like Eskom, and especially the Eskom generation business, if you do not have the right people, I mean, when I say right people, people with the right competencies, the right skills, qualifications, and experience, who have come through the ranks, who know the business well, who have been groomed for certain positions, etc., then you can have the best systems, etc. You're still going to fall short. And
are you talking about the Eskom board, Vally, or are you talking about the Eskom board?
No. I'm talking about, I don't want to get to the Eskom board, that's another conversation, but I'm talking about the technocrats. I'm talking about from the foot soldiers right up to power station manager level. There are good people there doing fantastic work, but there are lots of people there, well, not lots, maybe there's a significant number of people there who shouldn't be there in such positions. Maybe it's not their fault, but the level of competencies leaves much to be desired.
Should the CEO of Eskom step aside? I mean, is that going to achieve anything? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you'll be aware of the conversations, people demanding for Andre de Ruyter to step aside or to be fired, whatever term you want to use. Is that really going to solve this problem, though, changing out CEOs? Because it's going to take the new CEO, if it were to happen, a year or two to get up to speed as well. Would changing the CEO make any difference?
Well, the CEO is the top dog of any organization, and CEOs come depending on the life cycle of the company. I would argue that if you consider the life cycle, if I can put it in those words, of where Eskom is now, you need a technocrat, you need an experienced person, the person who knows the business that well. And so given that situation, I think Mr. De Ruyter can make that call for himself or the board. But given where we are in a crisis situation, you need a maintainer. It's not business as usual. We are the business as unusual. And you have CEOs for a business as usual situation, and you have CEOs for business as unusual. But having said that, I think Mr. De Ruyter is trying his best. But I think let's face facts. You need horses for courses, and you need the right person at the right time.
Let me ask you this in conclusion, Vally, as well. Let me ask you this in conclusion as well. Do you get the sense that the president of the country really can make any difference whatsoever? Because the last time we had the Stage 6 was many years ago. Another trip was cancelled. I think it was Egypt. The president coming back to deal with Stage 6. The president coming back today to deal with Stage 6 after the Queen's funeral. What difference in the world is it going to make if the president is in our country or not? Surely it won't make any difference at all to Stage 6 load shedding?
No. I would have an opposite view. With the president coming back, I think it sends a signal that the highest office in the land, the highest person in the land, the president is giving this top priority. Not that he doesn't have other people, cabinet ministers, who take care of it, but with the president showing that gesture, sends a message to the rank and file that this crisis needs to be given its highest attention, which he is doing, I think, through the creation of the eNCA and the structure that's been put in place. I think he's done that, but I think with him coming back to the country earlier than expected also gives, hopefully, further confidence in the public that this crisis is being given its highest attention.
Should it be declared a national disaster? Final question to you, Vally.
No, not yet. I think we are in a crisis situation. Before we get to a disaster, maybe we would consider it whether it's an emergency. I think that should be given consideration. But to declare it a disaster, we're not yet there yet, because bear in mind, my final comment, Gareth, load shedding, believe it or not, is an excellent management tool in the power industry to prevent us from getting into a catastrophe, in this case, a blackout. So, and our national control is doing an excellent job. They're giving us, they're doing more with less. In other words, they're keeping the lights burning. So we are not there yet, because as I say, load shedding is an excellent management tool.
Yeah, to stop the entire grid collapsing as well. I suppose in the end, though, Vally, as I'm sure many people would agree with some of what you've said as well, it's still very frustrating for all of us not to have power for all these hours during the day. I mean, the same as you as well in Stage 6. We understand why it's there. It just shouldn't be there in the first place. But Vally, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. I appreciate your time, as always. Also in load shedding at the moment, somehow able to do a Zoom interview with us. Vally Padayachee, thank you so very much. Eskom's former executive manager and former Joburg City Power executive, saying that Andre De Ruyter is doing the best that he can, and the president coming back to South Africa is the right thing to do.